Hello friends, welcome back to our channel RK Data Labs, and today we are going to continue our existing Python 360-degree series. And so far we have covered like a couple of days where we have completely understood about all the concepts how do we feed the input, control statements, how do we go for the break statements and all like couple of things like in with respect to collections. And today we are into day number 9 of this series, and today we are going to cover a new topic. Yes, of course, we are going to see the control statements of it. So if I say and talk about control statements, it is about how are we going to control our logic using some predefined statements. So before moving on, I will try to create a new test file here. It's a Python file, so from that we can able to understand practically. So let me try to give this day 9. So let me have a new Python file here. So what we are going to cover is conditional statements and control statements. So we have been covering it to two different parts. So part 1 and part 2. Basically this part 1, let us try to cover from conditional statements background. Okay, so conditional statements, if you see, there is something called we can try to use logical operators. It can be AND operator and OR operator. Like let's say like you have two different conditions. If you want to get the result only if two conditions are satisfied, then you can go with AND condition, and if either of this condition or the second condition is true, then you can go with OR condition. So before moving on, let me try to have some if else logic and nested if else logic as well. So what we are going to do, we are trying to get one number here. So let me put int input of, so let's try to get the number in as a prompt. So from this number, what we can do, age false. Okay, it is to be boolean. Okay, okay, so we are going to try this with if logic, number greater than lesser than 10. We can check one more condition using elif condition. So elif, what we can do, elif number, and if it is greater than 10, and then print the statement, and of course we can use double quotes, test failed. So like this, right? So what you can do, simply you can just able to assess yourself using this control statements accordingly. So what we are going to do here, we are using input parameter with variable called number. We are going to enter the number in the prompt in the terminal itself, and then it checks accordingly. There are two statements, of course, one with if, one with elif, and then there is something default, we need to have the else condition as well. All right. Alright, so this is a simple if else if logic, and from on we can even add one more elif if the value is going to be something different. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to simply enter this. So I'm just going to enter 8. So what this had happened is it goes to the respect to block. Let's say it checks for the number 8 lesser than 10. Yes, of course, it prints this test succeeded. Now what we can do, we can test with some other thing. All right. So what we can do, we can go with two different scenarios. Now let me go here. Let me try to give 20. And of course, so if you give with 20, it goes to the elif condition and then it prints the statement test fail appropriately. Now what if I have some other thing called, let's say, Rajesh. All right, so it doesn't have try to take the number as a Rajesh. Why? Because if you try and see here, what we are feeding your input as integer, right? So you're not ensuring that other than integer is supposed to be your input. So try to give only the integer as your input variables and then move ahead with that. All right, so you have three different things. So what we can even know, if something goes beyond, we can have these three. Let's say if you want to have one more condition, let's say elif number and age, so 18. All right, so this, what you can do, you can put boolean operator. print. So this needs to now be age. Age is nothing but the Boolean variable. So it should not get any values assigned to it, of course, right? So what we can do for the time being, let's say 20. Okay. So what we can do, age equals to 20. So now let's try to have this. So it moves to the default values. Why? Because it didn't succeed both these conditions. So 10 is less than 10, of course no. 10 is greater than 10, of course no. And 10 and age equals to 20, of course no. So then obviously it moves to the else part of it. So what it printed is, it just printed the default values. So likewise, right, you can even add n number of conditions accordingly to it. So here I have added a simple AND logic, or if you want to add OR logic, you can still go ahead and see. So basically AND logic is to test if both conditions are satisfied, whereas if there is one condition needs to get satisfied among both variables, you want to go with OR condition. So for that, what you can do, you can just simply use this operator. Okay, or you can put like simply OR operator. So OR and AND comes belongs to the keywords accordingly. Okay, now I try to put over here, let me try to have 20, and of course it got failed. Why? Because it just succeeded with this elif condition, 20 is greater than 10. So it just got printed with this statement called test fail. So from this we can able to understand this conditional statements are very important in Python logic or Python core data processing, because any module that you take without having these conditional statements and control statements, there would not be any appropriate code can be designed. So please make sure that you are having some good understanding on these two both, in addition to having like functions and oops concepts and all those steps. Okay, it is our responsibility to make sure that which condition that we want to go, either to uncondition or condition. Okay, so stay tuned guys, we'll catch you with my second part with having understanding of for loop, while loop and do while loop in the Python core concepts. Stay tuned guys, thanks for watching this video.